Thought my OBS crashed. What's up, everybody? Audio should be crispy as a cracker. The whole gang is here. The whole gang. I just have to adjust this screen. Exciting, exciting stuff, huh? Good times, good times. Paul, Jobs, TLT. All right. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for stopping by, either live or on the recording. For you 2x speed enjoyers, I often listen to my own content on 2x speed because I know how slow I tend to talk. So we've been eating through these supply unlocks. First of all, the market doesn't like surprises, obviously. The market likes certainty. So when we have uncertainty around the election beyond what we had, when we have uncertainty around supply unlocks and selling, that's going to be an issue. We can point to things like the post-Trump high being like literally the chemical high that people got from saying like Trump is here, he's going to save everything. A lot of people are pointing to that as saying like this is the obvious time that we probably should have pulled back because, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news, whatever, I don't know. I think that was less of an issue. More of an issue now was the surprise, oh hey, the US government is moving $2 billion in BTC. I think that's harder for the market to digest immediately because that represents, again, more selling. And oh, by the way, we also had BitGo. This is just part of what's going on, right? BitGo received Mt. Gox BTC. They moved 3 billion or thereabouts. Who knows what it is now. But all that stuff is definitely playing a factor here, undeniably. Now, we knew that the Gox distro would take months, would take at least take us to the end of August, most likely. It's just a matter of at what percentage complete, like let's say we're 65% complete based on the number of people who've been redeemed, but not based on total value or total coin number. At what point does the market stop caring? I don't know, 75, 85, 95? They don't have 21 million coins to distribute, so that's good. It just is what it is. The next surprise is going to be government selling, the US government. We had the German government, we had the Gox thing, we had the miner thing. ETH kind of came and went as a potential issue. So that's that's a plus. But here we are. Not much going on other than chopping around. So we had the supply unlocks back to back, which again, it's like, you know, one of these, fine. It's not like any of this isn't known. It's just the timing is just lining up in the worst way possible, right? So that's what, 6 billion-ish in supply. Not all this is going to be market sold, obviously, but it certainly looks like and feels like some of it's being sold. Over the past week, we're down 10% since Sunday, I think. It also doesn't bode well that legacy is kind of melting down here. Post-Powell, dovish pause, I guess they called it. Dovish hold, because he, to me, is signaling he's definitely going to be cutting in September. I think it would be ironic if they have to come out in August and do something if the jobs number is bad. It's going to take a lot of move down in the market for Powell to get spooked because the markets are so high, like they have a lot to give back, right? So tomorrow's the jobs number, we'll see. We also have this, because again, as I mentioned, I don't know how many weeks ago, this isn't like a surprise, but if we are the Trump trade, if Bitcoin price is a representation of Trump odds, no matter what you want to say about the election, Trump odds have gotten worse over the past couple weeks. and we're evening out here. Whereas before, it was almost guaranteed that Trump would win, right? So this just represents more uncertainty because we are perceived as the Trump trade. Hopefully the left can fix that in some way, shape, or form by doing something, not saying something, but by doing something. It didn't help that they immediately came out on Monday and started selling BTC. So if Trump continues to fall in the odds, then that's probably not going to help our cause either. And again, I don't think it's like any one thing that's going on right now. It's just this amalgamation of stuff that is just not helpful for us. Certainly not helpful. BTC ETFs have been positive, but not too exciting, mostly flat on a daily, day-over-day basis. Week over week, we're down. I think going into the end of the month, we're typically, I'd have to look. I think we typically see a jump in the beginning versus the end of the month, or the beginning of the quarter versus the end of, you never know what exactly is going on there, but I think that's playing a role here as well. Just a lack of flows, right? As for inflows, I should say. So not helpful. The ETH stuff for the meth heads with affection. I say that, the meth heads. Still net negative since launch. If you include the seed capital, this is probably positive. But the flows since launch are still negative, and this was my expectation. I don't know why anybody thought otherwise. This is ETH being unlocked. That's just what it is. It's going to take time. This for ETH, this is going to take probably into Q4 to be sure that this is over. I mean, look how long it took BTC, January, February, March. We thought they were done in February, and then they ramped it up again in March and April. So it really took a full quarter to finish the unlock for GBTC. Now GBTC is bigger than ETH, obviously. So ideally they're doing this quicker. They're just selling what they're selling. There's less to sell. I don't know, right? You can justify it any way you want, but the data does not support positive net flows for ETH here. What's up, Blake? So until we have better looking consistent flows, it's going to be tough to move up with everything else going on, ETH outflows change. I don't think so. Golshi, there's a great graph. Farside put it together, like number of days on the drain or whatever from ETH versus GBTC. I still think Q4, like give it 2 months. I assume in 2 months we will be certain whether or not this ETH stuff is over. So I wouldn't expect much out of ETH until Q4. I just wouldn't. What's up, Ozzy? Cracklin. Yeah, where is Joey? What's up, Builder? Yeah, lots of chop. So we've got all this going on. The ETFs aren't hurting us, but they're not helping us. The other like silent thing here is we may have inflows. We just don't have net inflows as far as the baskets on the ETFs. There may be people coming out of the ETFs, at least based on the numbers. Let me just check. Based on the numbers, like GBTC was 0 yesterday. But the point is there may be people exiting the ETFs where there's people behind them buying. It's just, it's about equal, right? So the net number is about 0. We also have the new BTC and ETH product, the mini trusts with low fees. So maybe that's going to help us in the long run. Just early, just too early for that. So all that stuff, it kind of is what it is. Looking at the cycle, we are where we should be. Things don't get exciting really until like day 680, and we're at day 618. So we have another 2 months. Q4, Q4, Q4. Watch, Q4 comes around and we just like go in a completely different direction. Bear market, it's over, the cycle's over. I don't think we're going to see that, but it will take us into October for sure. Just based on the 2 data points we have of the past. Not always the same, but they rhyme. So I think it'll be about the same. Rates will be down. The election hopefully will be finalized and over, and we'll move on from there. But I like price into Q4. Looking at, since having same story cycle-wise, we're on day 103. We don't typically start moving until day 140. So that's slightly earlier in September, but September is almost universally a complete awful month. I was trying to get this to load on the, here we go. If we look at the seasonality for September, September is usually very, very bad. So, I don't know. We could say if August is positive or negative, what is September usually? I don't really think there's a pattern there. But I wouldn't just expect September to be good. I would expect September to be not good, for sure. Even August, the seasonality here is not favorable. So all this is just, it's saying the same thing, which is like, don't expect anything crazy here anytime soon. And to see all of these unlocks happening now is probably a good thing, honestly. I'd rather see it here than at 100. It's just painful to sit through it for months or get chopped up in some people's cases. Hopefully not. But based on seasonality, based on previous cycles, based on cycle low, based on the supply unlocks, based on the election, rates, ETFs, we're not there yet. Definitely not there yet. Hash ribbons, which measure basically are miners taking hash off the network or not, those have flipped back positive. So hash rates being added to the network. Last week we didn't have a stream. I was in Nashville, and universally everybody, at least in the publicly listed miner space, all discussing some type of AI strategy. Even companies that haven't discussed it publicly are discussing some type of AI strategy, or they're at least looking at it. So that played a role. The post-halving revenue loss for miners played a role. The fees on the network are low, so they're not really making money. This jump in hash rate, I think, represents the new ASICs that are coming online, new hardware efficiencies. And the second theme, other than AI, was just stranded energy. Everybody's on the lookout for any type of stranded energy that they can scale, stranded energy in any country in the planet, no matter where it is. Those are the two big things. I didn't go to the main conference. I went to side events. All the side events I went to were really good. Definitely one of the better conferences, probably because I didn't go to the main conference. But like the main conference, honestly, is like a bunch of vendors and piddly crap that most people who've been here for a minute don't really care about. All of the, at least most of the talks you can watch online on YouTube. So for me, it's not really worth it. For most people, I think it's just the networking is interesting because a lot of us don't talk to people about Bitcoin all day, every day. So seeing people once a year for networking is super useful. But the mining side of things, very interesting. The maturation of like the ETF institutional side, very interesting. And we've never really had as many companies and outside players. It's mostly just like cross-pollination, or has been within the industry, but that's changed a lot. So I think that's for the better. So hash ribbons recovering, miners, not a guarantee that they're selling less, but this suggests that the miners who had been selling are probably done selling. And if we like look back at times when we went from bearish to bullish on hash ribbons, it's been a pretty good signal. I don't know the actual hit rate, but it's pretty high. This is probably the worst example here in 2022, where we just kept going down. Other than that, most of these hash ribbon signals up, 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 and then COVID, and then up. So most of the time, they're pretty good. I don't really think anything else matters until the supply stuff is sorted. And that's that. Thanks for coming to the stream, everybody. It's been fun. Aren't hash ribbons signaling buy now? Yeah, they are. They are. So the hash ribbons look good. Okay, great. Puel multiple, which is just looking at miner revenue today versus the past year, also suggests miners aren't having a great time. You can see pre-halving. I want to make sure my fat face isn't in the way. Pre-halving, post-halving, dropped off. As a buy-sell signal at the extremes is where it's most useful. So it's just like in the middle here. There's nothing really much to say. For MVRV, maybe I do have to move my fat face. Hold on. Move it up here. MVRV also in the middle, not a buy signal or a sell signal, just like a cooling off signal. This is just market cap versus realized value. And it is essentially telling you how much unrealized profit or loss is in the market. And we typically top out when MVRV on the Z-score anyway is above 7, and it's 2 right now. So I think I'm looking at all this collectively to just say, is the cycle still on? Is the cycle dead? Where are we in the cycle? Where do we think we might be in the next 3-6 months? The way all the data is positioned, to me, looks fine. There's nothing to me that's screaming like sell here, sell now, based on anything I care about on chain. We can look at the hodl waves too, which if you shut off the higher stuff, it also is telling you the supply unlocks that are going on. The higher these low time frame peaks get, the more supply is coming online, the more supply is getting sold, at least moved on chain. And despite all of the on-chain movement and the selling, we're still not to peak on-chain movement that we've seen historically. This time could be different, obviously, but usually when the churn on-chain is significant, like 20% of the coins have moved in the past 6 months, that's when we typically top out. If I'm reading this correctly. I think I'm reading this correctly. Is it 80%? Maybe it's 80%, sorry. Is it? Yeah, so 80% of the coins moving in the past 6 months. We got up to 50% of the coins moving in the past 6 months. And this is part of the 4-year cycle. Why do we have 4-year cycles? Well, we get this crazy bear market, people start accumulating, then we get this crazy bull market, supply unlocks happen because it's life-changing money for people, right? And then it just repeats over and over and over again. So we're not there yet either, based on on-chain activity. Even with GBTC, even with the Gox coins, that's not what we've seen historically. This peak in on-chain activity is most comparable to 2019, which I think ICT Ben has talked about a lot. This like 2019. Let me pull up a chart. He talks about at least last time I watched his thing, talking about like the COVID candle upcoming potentially to the bottom, like to the bottom of the range. Someone talking about unemployment tomorrow, GC in the chat. I don't think unemployment is going to be down tomorrow. I think it's either going to be 4.1 or 4.2 and higher. I don't think it's going to be lower tomorrow, but I could be wrong. That's something else. Something else to watch for. If I pull up Trueflation actually hit a new multi-month low today. This is the real-time estimate for year-over-year inflation. If I can get this to work, maybe not. Is the website down? I don't know. This is why I try to reload stuff or load stuff before. There we go. I really like the data, but they added a token. Why? I have no idea. If you ever want to ruin a project, add a token. They're probably just looking to monetize. I get it, but all right, this isn't loading for me. So point is, we're at like 1.4 on Trueflation, which is super low, super low. So I think we'll get a cut in September. All right, realized total waves, blah, blah, blah. We're good there. We're good on MVRV. 200-week moving average heat map. This is another one. Just as a sanity check. Like, how fast is the 200-week moving average moving up? Historically, if we look at it, I don't think it's ever moved down. It's only ever moved up, which is wild in and of itself. But looking at the lower time frame version of this in 2021, red means we're overheated, be careful, right? Blue, turquoise, green, yellow, whatever. So we're not there yet. Even when we look at this, the 200-week moving average isn't moving up significantly quickly enough to give us like this overheated warning signal like it did in 2020, in 2021. If we look at all of the data, we got the signal in 2013 twice, you got the signal in 2018, and you got the signal in 2021. So once again, if the past is anything like the future at all, we are not to a point yet where things are crazy just based on this. Pi cycle, the crowd favorite, the absolute crowd favorite for God knows why. This thing was created after 2018. It correctly picked 1 point so far. This is just two moving averages, the 111 and the 350 times 2. I don't know why people love this. I think it's because it's like, this is when you sell. Every time, sell, sell, sell. So we're not there yet either. The moving averages are actually diverging. I'm pretty sure they also have a pi cycle bottom signal. Yeah. Wonder where that is at. So we're nowhere close to that either. Yeah, so I don't see anything on chain, anything with any of the metrics that suggests this is the end to me. This is a short-term holder realized price. We're floating around basically the average on-chain price for BTC. So again, it kind of shows you, do we have an insane amount of unrealized profits sitting on-chain or not based on on-chain movements? Do we have significant losses or are we just flat? And right here, we're just flat. We don't have anything really to talk about. If we look at 2016, 2017, 2018, similar story. Post-halving, post-Bitfinex blow up down here, we just sort of sat at this short-term accumulation level for a long time into October, and then things got started, right? So I don't think there's any issue with that either. Yeah, Dom, the issue with Pi cycle that people don't realize is that it was created after 2018. So yes, the back testing is great. it should be. It wouldn't, if the backtesting for these two numbers was terrible, you would never hear about it. That's part of backtesting, right? So this is, it looks great on backtesting. It's called 1 point correctly. Great. The next time it calls it, I'm going to be right there with everybody else saying, hey guys, this is a pi cycle top cross. Be careful, but we're not there yet. The interesting thing is, even with SBF and FTX selling BTC, there's an alternate timeline where that didn't happen, and this doesn't get you back in. Similar to like this, like where does this get you back in is the question. And I think that's where you look at the bottom indicator. But I would just be very careful relying on a single moving average cross telling you anything. Now you could say, people have a lot of trouble with this. I'm going to scale out something. I'm going to sell something for each of these points. If MVRV is 7, I'm selling every week until the end. I'm just selling. If realized hold waves are at 80% of on-chain movement, it's time to sell, right? You can just go down the list. Puel multiple. Miners are too rich. They're too fat and happy. I'm going to start selling. So that's why towards the end of the cycle, you can use this stuff and say, what does this one say? What does this one say? What does this one say? If they all say sell, then yeah, you should probably pay attention, right? If all of these say there's a ton of unrealized gains in the ecosystem, then absolutely I will be a seller. But I would be very careful just relying on a single indicator for that. That's all. But yes, it's something to use, right? It is what it is. And I would take each of these seriously because they've been so accurate for the past decade. But we're not there yet, which is good news on all this stuff. Global liquidity also has not increased based on Bitcoin Magazine Pro, based on their numbers. It hasn't increased. Based on the TradingView numbers, it has. So I don't know. It's just it's a bunch of nothing. Anybody else ever sit on their leg when they're in a chair? I've got a terrible habit of doing that. Anyway, so we're just in the middle of the cycle, in a terrible seasonality period with a bunch of supply unlocks. I still think the TA actually looks the most bullish out of anything here. Long-term power law, this is another one. APSK, the Twitter account, he does really great work on years ahead of support or whatever. That's something else to watch, but you could add diagonals on this thing, like a 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, quartile, tertiary, blah blah blah. You could do that, and again, you could say, I'm gonna sell when we're close to this level, when we're at this level, when we're up here, blah blah blah, right? I'm gonna sell something, anything, 5%, 1%, 0.5%, whatever. Selling. Just as an acknowledgement that, yeah, this thing is probably real so far. And it's been pretty accurate. We have the data we have. We don't have a billion years of data. So it's been very deadly accurate. We're also still below the midpoint here. Currently, that's all the way up at 86, which is significant because we typically don't start like the crazy parabolic phase until we break that midpoint, that green line. So again, this is telling me we aren't there yet. We're just not there yet for BTC. And then if we want to think about alts, everything in the planet cares about Bitcoin in crypto land. So if Bitcoin is chopping around, if Bitcoin's flat and angry, alts aren't going to do great. Flat out. They just aren't. ETH Q3, I didn't realize Q3 for ETH was this negative, but it makes sense. ETH does not do well historically in the back half of the year. It's more of a front half of the year winner. So you just got to be patient. If you're in alts, if you want to rotate into alts, I'm not, but there are people who are. August for BTC, like I said, also negative. September awful. And it actually helps us that August and September are awful, because then that helps fuel Q4 even more. Because it's like, okay, everybody who sold or wanted to sell has had 2 months to do that. And they're either in profit or they're not in profit. But at some point, the pendulum swings in the other direction. Looking at October, we've only had 2 negative Octobers ever, at least since 2013. Most of these Octobers are just crazy positive. Looking at ETH, October is also positive for ETH. September very negative for ETH. August negative. Just looking at this bottom row, look at the median return June onward for ETH is not good. It's flat out not good. So, if you're an ETH enjoyer, seasonality bodes well from January to the end of May. But after that, the period we're in now doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. October being the bright spot for everybody. So I'd keep that in mind. Do I use log scale for crypto? Yeah, I almost always use log scale for crypto exclusively, just because it tends to be very volatile over the years. And if you're not using log, then when you're zoomed out, you can't see price, right? Stablecoin dominance charting. We can look at that. As far as BTC is concerned, price-wise, what can you say? We're still in the channel. We're still in the chop. We were briefly above the cloud. Not to give the cloud credit here, as bullish as I was on Sunday, the cloud was not on my side completely, because we just had the Kumo twist like yesterday on the cloud. That's part of the checklist, right? Not that I'm giving myself a pass here, but the cloud so far has been correct in that even though we had this breakout, we did not have the full cloud on our side yet. Is there anything to say about this range? Not really. I guess you still have people buying, selling the top and buying the bottom, which is fine. It works until it doesn't. I'm not a range trader personally. I don't think most people make money range trading over time unless you're exclusively a range trader. But there are some people who can do everything. I'm just not really one of them. I don't know. It just, doesn't look amazing here, obviously. Looking at the 4-hour, fully through the 4-hour cloud. So that's good, I guess. If you're looking at, there were some people in the Discord talking about the 4-hour edge to edge at like 66. And we're through it now. So there's that. I had also mentioned the potential for some sort of like, let me change the colors here. Some sort of like wedge thing. I don't know. I don't like wedges just because they're very subjective. Where's the support here? Where's the resistance? Is this bullish or bearish? I don't know, but I think the pattern is real. It's just the bias in the conclusion and the interpretation is difficult. So if this does end up being bullish, fib high to low, it gives you, whatever target this is in the high 70s, new all-time highs. If this ends up being bearish, we measure it like that. So that would be sub 60, basically back to the I was going to say pre-Trump assassination attempt lows There's a sentence I never thought I'd say. But that's where this points, if this is bearish and if this does roll over. It's just a matter of the supply stuff. Do we have buyers stepping in incrementally as we go down here? How much more supply is there to be sold? You know, that's it. What else is there to say? But if Bitcoin is angry, and Bitcoin is down 10% in the week, 10% in 3 days, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's looking pretty spicy, as in bearish. The weekly cloud for BTC looks fine. Weekly candlesticks look fine. There's really nothing to say. I mean, it's just mega chop. Is this whole thing a cup and handle? Could be. I don't think anybody would want a low below 54. It would be an interesting stop run below 54. It would be interesting if we did tap the weekly Kijun at 49. But it's hard to know, because back to the supply unlock thing, if let's say the US government comes next week and they say, you know what, we want to sell another 2 billion. But it's like, okay, like that, it is what it is, right? Like, what are you going to do? Unless we have buyers stepping in, price goes lower. Or let's say next week, legacy just collapses. Okay, like you can argue anything you want on a technical basis till you're blue in the face, bullish or bearish. But if we're getting dragged down by legacy, if we're getting dragged down by supply unlocks, that's not going to be helpful in the near term. In the near term. So 49 would be the absolute low that I would expect us to go, but you know, if things get wild, you'd be looking at like a wick from 49 to 42. I don't know. I am not there personally. I'm not positioned for that. I'm not wishing for that. I'm just thinking about what could happen. Maybe, I don't know, right? Like who knows at this point? If more supply comes online and just starts selling, we go lower. It's that simple. There's an argument to be made back to this diagonal, like maybe we just test whatever this is in the 50s. I don't know. Again, I'm not expecting that. I'm just expecting chop, personally. Yeah, we'll take a look at DXY, hopium and cobium. It's good for the ETF buyers if they're able to continue to accumulate. It's good for Joe Public if they're able to accumulate here. I just don't think they necessarily are accumulating a lot. I think it's more up to the ETFs at this point. Is there anything else I can say about BTC? I don't think so. You know, the other issue with this is 2 weeks ago I was talking about this inverted head and shoulders possibility. And then we just blew through the right shoulder, never really made the right shoulder, and then just kept going. So to some degree, like this is technically a neckline retest right here at 62. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at straws, but technically there's not really much else to say. Exactly, Mustafa. Because of all the other metrics, because of where we are in the cycle with seasonality, I just can't be bearish here. I can't assume we're going to go lower. There's certainly, to me, less money to be made in assuming we go to 50 versus assuming in Q4 we're going to be at 100 plus. So that's that. That's Bitcoin. ETH, Sol, everything else, for the most part, is just ultra. You know, you think BTC is choppy if you never watch any of the alts. As some people, they're just blissfully unaware because they don't care about anything other than Bitcoin. But what on this ETH chart gives anybody confidence for bullishness? I don't know. There's a lot of fundamental people on the ETH side, the meth heads who are super bullish. Okay, but this chart does not look bullish. This has done nothing but chop around. I don't know. I really don't have much to say. It's just in a range still, needs a catalyst. Is this a cup and handle like everything else? Sure, maybe. But if it breaks 28, that's probably because Bitcoin broke 60. So just have a plan. Have a plan for anything in any direction. If you're an ETH enjoyer and you want to buy lows, I would wait for sub 28 personally, or 28. There's really nothing else to say, you know. ETH BTC also, I saw people celebrating for no specific reason. Just again, we drew this fractal in May. This is an inverted head and shoulders chop fractal. It's still below the 3-day cloud. Okay, so that's not a buy. It's still potentially going to make a right shoulder. It's still not above 06. What on this chart is bullish to anybody? I don't know. I really don't know. I guess we can't go 3 weeks. Let's just stick to the weekly. There is no way I can stretch this and say, man, this looks bullish. We broke the previous low. We're just sort of in no man's land on the cloud. Trend metrics are still bearish. There's no pattern here. There's no div here. There's nothing. Could this be the low of the right shoulder? Absolutely, but the risk here is significant downside. Significant downside. So to me, for me, it's just not the time. But, you know, again, if you like ETH, whatever, what do I care, right? It just doesn't make sense to me here. So I think that needs more time. Just trust me, bro. I might be anti-alt, anti-ETH, but I think, objectively look at the chart and talk about what's going on. Solana, man, I will never not be bullish at the top of a range. So I'm always going to be offsides if it rolls over, just flat out, which is what happened. But that's the game, baby. That's trading. It's down. What is this? This is over nearly 20% from the highs. Nearly 20%. The patterns here are more supportive of continuation to me, especially relative to ETH, relative to BTC. It's just like, look, if BTC's angry, alts are going to be pissed, you know? They're going to be very upset. I don't know why Ripple has as much volume as it does on Kraken. Maybe it's because one of the only places you can trade it in the US. I don't know. This chart is also nothing. There's nothing going on. It looks like it's trying to have a bullish bias. It's trying to knock on this horizontal at 65 cents, just like it did on the way down in 2021. But it's not bullish yet, for sure. Man, Doge, WIF is down 20% in the past day. That's a yikes. This is the problem with this is the problem with trading memes in a non-bullish period. You just have to be aware, like, what are we in right now? Are we in obviously bullish period or obviously bearish period? We're certainly leaning more towards chop, so I would steer clear of this junk personally. But I know most people trading this are trading this on low time frames anyway. So whatever. But man, needs more time. Yeah, Ben, I think Ben's been bearish, like secretly bearish for a long time, like months, you know? So it's hard for me to I respect Ben a lot. I love his data. I love his analysis. But when a doomer has been a doomer and wrong, not that this is him, but when you get a bear or a bull and they've just been wrong consistently, it's hard for me to take anything they say seriously, you know. Watch your fibs vid. What's the point when you switch the direction? So if you think this consolidation is bullish, if you identify the pattern, if you say, I think this is going to move up instead of down, then your target is higher, right? Now, if you think the opposite, so this is the target, which it tapped for 2 seconds, but it tapped it. That was your target on this double bottom Adam and Eve situation. If you think something is bearish, you start with the low, finish at the high, and then that gives you a projection lower. That's the difference between the two. But if you don't use fibs, I definitely would. They're one of the best things. Everyone's always asking me since the beginning of time, what's your target, bro? Do you have a target for that? What's your target? You can answer this question yourself every time. Every time you can answer this question by just using fibs. I'm trying to pull up a chart. Do I have anything here? Kind of technically. Hold on, let me just find something real quick. Oh yeah, here's the probably better annotation for this. Right angled descending broadening wedge. All right, so like, look, if we're bullish out of this range, you take the high, you take the low, and you take the fib, and that's how you get your target. That's it. The rest of this comes in, where do you think this is going to break out? Where do you think is the key level? And how do you want to trade this? Let's say we get, here's maybe the bullish thing. If we get a lower low, that just makes the target, if this recovers, even higher eventually, right? But we're not there yet, for sure. As far as the cycle high, it's the same thing. It's not like I'm just plucking numbers out of the air. Like, oh yeah, 300,000. You take the high, you take the low, and it gives you 300K. Like, if you think this is something, some sort of pattern, I don't care what you think it is, they all measure the same. You take the high, you take the low, you take the depth of the pattern, you project it higher. So this is why I'm here. I'm here for this. So we can talk about 70 to 50 to 60 or whatever. I don't really care. That's not why I'm here. I'm here for the probable move in my eyes to 300 in the next year, right? That's why I'm here. W's in the feet. I don't know what that is. Amanda, probably a bot. So that's the importance of fibs. And I would, if you're unfamiliar with them, I would just start using them on everything and backtest this. All right, do I have to, let's do that. Hopefully that, yeah, okay. Even the stuff from 2021, using fibs, guess what levels it gives you? Guess what levels it gives you? It gives you really good levels. The most difficult part is honestly finding the support or the resistance. Sometimes it's diagonal, but if you're not sure, just pick whatever. Going into 2022 at the end, this was the problem. Like, the problem with the measurement of this range in 2022 was sub 20K. That's where we got to eventually. Let's keep going, right? Let's dial it back. 2018. Where does this measure? We didn't quite get to like the maximum bearish target. I think most people in 2018 were focused on this, like mini thing. I think this, yeah. So this mess measured lower. So fibs, any time frame, anytime, any place, anywhere. Fibs are very, very good. Even the COVID stuff, take the high, take the low. 30 to 47, pretty good level as a blind guess of where we could go. So fibs are really good. Fibs are really, really good. I don't know what I was talking about. Did the fibs call the highs of the last cycle? Yeah, I think that's what I just went over, but we can also look at another thing you can do is look at the ultimate high and ultimate low and project that higher. This did give you the range, 60 to 120. It got there. It was there for like a couple weeks. The difficulty here is the size of the range, right? So it's the same thing with everything else I was talking about with on-chain metrics. If we are above 169, it's probably a good time to start thinking about selling something, anything, like 0.5%, right? Start scaling out a little bit just to acknowledge that, you know what, we're close to the fib, or we're in the wheelhouse. It also depends on what does the market look like if and when we get up there. Where would I think in XRP? I mean, the thing with XRP, like, look, if you're bullish, it's gone nowhere for 65 years. So anywhere, if you're bullish XRP, just how long do you plan on holding, and what's your target? It's literally the same price since it was in 2018, 2017. So if you're bullish, what's the target? And what's the duration you want to hold it for? I just don't know why anyone would want to buy it. So you kind of lost me there. But if I was buying the breakout, I would just set an alert for 65. And any daily close from here on out above 65 cents would be where I would just start buying. Death cross on, yeah, let me get back to this. Death cross on BTC is what somebody said. I love to see that stuff because I want to see the momentum indicators resetting, the moving averages resetting. If we go 50. So I don't have an issue with that. Is it bullish? No, it's not bullish for sure. The good news, let me make these bolder. The good news is once we get those crisscrosses or whatever, like we did in September, it makes the next trade easier. Like I've said this with the cloud, everything resetting makes the next trade easier and more obvious. Should you be bullish with a bearish cross? You absolutely should not be bullish with a bearish cross. Should you be bullish with a bullish cross after the bearish cross? Absolutely. So it's just another thing to watch like it was in September. Which, hey, that sounds familiar. A bearish cross going into August and September with a bullish cross in October. Man, it's almost like that's something to watch this year. So I would definitely, you know, it's literally on the chart a year ago. This is exactly what you want to watch for going into Q4. Yeah, what's with all the Ando? Everybody keeps asking me. The chart looks like garbage. I feel like people were sold this bill of goods about RWA or BlackRock or something. What on this chart ever has said this looks bullish? I just don't understand. I don't get it. I hate to break it to you, but you Ando, one Ando equals condo or whatever. Fundamentals don't usually drive altcoins. PR notifications don't usually drive altcoins. You could say, well, I thought it was going to be adoption. I don't know. There's nothing here that looks bullish whatsoever. It looks awful. It looks real bad. I don't even think, I have to check it on another exchange. I don't even think there's enough trading history anywhere to know. Oh, I guess there's on Coinbase. It's just a bunch of gibberish, so I don't even, like, what do you even use to measure? I guess we could say, like here, this is some sort of head and shoulders at the bottom. It looks like there was a low time frame thing here. There's a double top here. There's another low time frame attempt here at the bottom. Collectively, this thing is like maybe that, I don't know, sub 80, I would imagine, and I would imagine it would just go back to where it held this accumulation, because you know there's a VPVR node down there just because of how long it sat. So if you're bullish, 80-ish. If you're bullish and terrified, you don't want to see this going much deeper because there is nothing volume-wise below that. Below 70, there's kind of nothing until 30. Yeah, Joe, Rojogan include me in on that, but yeah. Ando because of BlackRock, that's all I know. Yeah, that's not a great investment thesis. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. If you're trading on fundamentals, I don't think you can care about the chart because you're like, okay, whatever. BlackRock will come in and save this. I don't know. It's not for me. It's not for me. Somebody else was asking, how do I pull up the stablecoin dominance again? Is it just, is there a stablecoin? Is there like a stablecoin index on here? Crypto cap. I don't know how to do it quickly. I can't remember. So if you've got an equation, I'll pull it up. It's probably like crypto cap tether plus USDC. I guess I could do that. USDT plus crypto cap USDC divided by total. Is that right? Let's just see what that pulls up. USDTD. I guess that would work too. Let's just see what this looks like. So it's about the same. I don't know. Does this tell you anything? I don't think so. New right scale. So it tells you stablecoin market cap relative to BTC is at a low, it's rising. Maybe you want something closer to 7-8% to be more bullish. I don't know. I don't know if this is really that helpful, honestly. Yeah, exactly, Nexus. I don't know if this really helps here. I don't know. I don't think it's that helpful, honestly. I know Ben does like 2 hour long videos on this, but I think the idea is there's this like curve here, this channel, and there's a support, there's a resistance, blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't think it's too helpful when it's not at the extremes. It just looks like chop to me. All right. Is there any other majors that people care about? I don't think so, honestly. Everything looks like junk. Memes look like junk. AI coins look like junk. Layer 1s look like junk. I don't think anything looks bad enough to buy here, personally. Unless it's back to its October 2023 breakout level, I'm not touching it. There's just no chance. Someone asked about ADA. I mean, the cloud tells you everything you need to know. Just getting denied. ADA, BTC. Got some sort of level down there. The issue with assuming that this is going to be the bottom for ADA, BTC is previously it took almost a year in this region to bottom. So if this is the bottom, it's probably not going to happen anytime super quick. Filecoin. Joey has entered the chat. Yeah, I talked about Filecoin yesterday. I don't know, like all of these charts that started to look good went nowhere, right? This was the stop loss here at 5.32. I just did nothing because I could care less. It's a tiny portion of my total holdings, but there's nothing here that's bullish. I guess you could hope that there's some sort of diagonal support and that this eventually morphs into some sort of ascending triangle thing. I don't know. This whole like triple bottom is still possible, but nothing here is telling you this is a buy, at least not for me. No way. Absolutely no. The only two that looked good was Ton and BNB. Ton probably doesn't look, and by good I mean just not bad. Ton probably doesn't look amazing today either. This is probably the only coin outside of like some random garbage that is actually holding its range. Everything else is like dying, just slowly, painfully dying. It's not for me. It's not for me. Those are real pictures, okay? I paid for those headshots for those mods. So you leave them alone. ETH has a price increase. I don't know. I think there's a lot of weirdness going on with the newly launched stuff till it settles in. Everything else on this list, I mean, it's just, I could always sort by like top losers and see Bowden down 27. I don't know. I'm not the type of person that's like, oh man, I need to go in there and buy this junk that's down 20% on the day. Not for me. Not for me. I like BTC DCA, and that's about it. I don't like anything else here. Here's another thing to watch. Talked about this, I don't know, a long time ago at this point, but let me find the 200 week. Like if we get, this is where some people think we're going to go. Nothing's impossible, right? But the 200-day moving average would be a full flush of all of the ETF, post-ETF launch move. But, you know, you'll get people at 37 saying, oh man, I think we're going to 20. That's just the way it is. Again, I don't think we're going there. Can I look at BOEM? Sure. If this is a garbage chart, bro. All right, I see what he sees. So this is a good question. He's asking me about this pattern. So it's always good to know what chart patterns, how they behave, or at least how they've behaved previously. To me, this structure is here. It looks good in that regard. Was there volume? Let me turn on volume. Yeah, you had volume on the breakout. Not a ton, but there was definitely volume there. The problem with this low market cap stuff, it is a dinghy in the ocean that is crypto. So if the entire market is selling off, the TA for BOEM isn't really going to matter, you know. As far as just looking at this chart, it's back to the neckline. Is it a failed pattern? I don't think it's failed yet. This isn't really a failure until it's below its right shoulder. So the trade is the trade. If I traded this, I would be in it still and potentially adding down here. So, you know, you got to read the room. If the house is burning down, the book of the meme on the bookshelf, you know, isn't going to survive. It's just tough. It's really tough. USDT doing well. Yeah. Tether makes more money per person as a business than any business on the planet. They just print money nonstop. It's actually insane. Just reading chat. Is there anything else anybody wants me to look at before we transition into legacy? Crypto. Somebody mentioned AI coins. I don't think it's not a secret. Like if we look crappy on the cloud, I'm not gonna want to jump into this. I think the best you could hope for FET would be like this triple bottom diagonal thing. We saw this type of thing on AVAX. We saw it on Solana way back here. I don't know if this is a wedge or whatever, but you know, we had this. So these things do exist, but here for FET, not yet for me. Not yet. Chart looks like doo-doo. Yeah. I don't know the deepend. I've talked to Kraken and they are aware that they need to update their categories here, but I don't even know what the deepend coins are. I'd have to look at a list. The current hype, says Julian. Julian, if this chart doesn't look good, you're in a timeout, Julian. Now let me ask you a question, Julian. Now I asked you to give me a coin and you gave me a coin, so I can't shoot the messenger here. But this is not a good looking chart. This is not a good looking chart. I mean, maybe we could say falling wedge into the oblivion, into the abyss. No. What are you doing? Not you, Julian. The people trading this, what are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know. It looks so bad. What else we got? Anything? It's okay, Julian. It was my fault. I asked, okay? I asked. But I'm pretty sure this is the same coin. Nothing looks good. Nothing looks good. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Comp. Yeah, I think most of DeFi is also just ranging. I think somebody did ask about Aave. The cloud on the weekly doesn't really like it. I don't really see anything. The last time there was something here was down here, where you had this like triple bottom attempt. It broke out, then immediately broke down, and now there's some sort of drama with governance. So not for me. We can look at Uni. Just turbo epic chop, regulatory uncertainty. No, not for me. Aave is another one. Sideways chop, momentumless. Nothing, you know. That's why I keep pounding the table about legacy and looking at legacy charts. Even if you're not trading them, just to see what I see and to say like, this is what I want to see. This is what I want the chart to look like. Nothing looks like that. Nothing. It's just chop on chop. Chop on chop. Would I DCA BTC? Absolutely. Would I DCA anything else? No. I am not somebody to come in here and be bullish on deepend for deepend's sake. The chart looks okay. The chart looks okay. Do we have I think it got delisted, so I don't know. Do we have the old? I'm trying to find the old helium chart. Okay, here's a great example. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I absolutely love to see. Death for 2 years. And then, oh, hey, what's this? We're above the cloud. Time to go. That's what I want to see as an entry signal or continuation on the cloud. So helium doesn't have that yet. Doesn't have that yet. Like this thing looks like it wants to be a triple bottom when it grows up in Q4, but it just needs 2 months, you know? Haven't looked at PFE yet, but I will for sure. Honestly, I'm probably just going to hold that. It's a nice little non-crypto trade that is doing well. So I'm probably just holding that regardless. All right, some deepend stuff. Sui is a yikes. That's a yikes. Bear trend denied at the Kijun. Not even in the daily cloud yet. No div here. No lower low. Not back to the October level. I mean, these are all just things you can look for on any chart. We're not there yet. Where was the list? Helium I just looked at. Same thing. It's just not ready to me. It has to be above the cloud. It's not above the cloud. Okay. You know, that's basically my litmus test for any of this. SIA, I was not aware SIA is deepend, but I guess because of the storage. SIA on the daily. Almost ready. It got denied at the daily cloud. So on the long side for the cloud, the first trade you could always take is this edge reversal trade. Okay, that's the first trade. The next trade to take is the breakout trade. You don't really have any of that here. If you don't have cloud on your side, then you're looking at some sort of capitulation, some sort of div, bull div. We can measure the fibs on this thing up here. Crazy, like spiky head and shoulders. We're in the wheelhouse of where we'd expect that pattern to go, right? So that's one argument for like we've seen enough, but the trend is still bearish. This is one I looked at yesterday, Stellantis. It is is it a car supplier company? It's in the auto industry. They're laying off people. They've been laying off people for a long time. They have, I think they're dealing with like recalls, just terrible fundamental news, right? So a buddy of mine, we were looking at this, asking me, like, where would I buy this? Just like the chart we were just on, similar thing, a super huge, like a massive head and shoulders here, below the cloud, broke down. We are in the wheelhouse of the expected move. So as a buyer looking to get in, I wouldn't short a chart that looks like this. But there's no div yet. This probably goes lower. It's down 50% from the high. Like it's had a lot of punishment super quickly. So I think it's getting there. But it's just a matter of sizing and duration. Like how long do you want to sit in this? Because I think a lot of people are going to see a chart like this and think, okay, like blood in the streets, now's the time to buy. Yeah, Stellantis is Chrysler. And that's fair. But one way to do that with TA is to say what preceded this breakdown, what was the range or the pattern or the consolidation. Can I measure that with fibs? And we're about there. We're about there. So if you're brave on a chart like this, that's where you'd step in. Render. I don't know. First thing I was gonna say is this like a bearish channel, or is this some sort of falling wedge thing? When it's non-obvious, that probably means the market is also questioning what the hell's going on here. But I wouldn't say this is bullish on render. The hard part for a diagonal pattern is like, okay, how do we measure the fibs here? I mean, you could do something like that. Sub 4. Nothing that looks like this is gonna measure to bullishness unless there's some sort of falling wedge or something. But that doesn't look good either. Theta. Theta. You can see a lot of this stuff, even ADA. Like it tried to have, there were people buying and stepping in, but there's just too many sellers. Just like up here, like people keep trying with the double bottom, triple bottom, whatever. People keep trying, but it's just not working. TIA is the same thing. TIA, people keep trying. I'm trying to find where I'm at. There was this here, Adam, Eve. There was a inverted head and shoulders in that, broke down. Here, the same thing, triple bottom attempt, broke down. Like people are trying, but the market is having none of it. I still get people who are bullish on TIA. I don't get it. I just don't get it. If there's anybody into like GAN fan stuff, I could never figure out the GAN fan. But as a channel to watch, you probably want to watch this. It's just ugly. It's very ugly. SSV, that's the crypto, right? Binance. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here. It's just, is this a downtrend? Is this the falling wedge? I don't think so. It just points to lower. Everything points to lower. The only decent looking chart is a ton. Everything else just looks bad. Yeah, Filecoin we looked at, and I said there's nothing here right now. What's your evidence, right? You could say there's a diagonal here, there's a triple bottom attempt, but it's just like this minor. Is it Gree? Yeah, Gree's a good example. Okay, it's not a miner, it's like a power company or something. Pretty good case for some sort of attempt at a bottom, but now it just broke down, right? It just keeps going. SDIG, same thing. A miner. It tried the bottom, tried to consolidate, tried to break out. Even down here, it was up like 20% in a day, blah, blah, blah. It's got technical evidence for an Adam and Eve. It's a double bottom. No, market's not having any of it at all. KWeb, similar. Where's it at? KWeb looks better to me than Gree and SDIG, but it's not looking great, right? Like, it is not looking great. But it tried, and it's still trying. It's just a question of like, where do you hop in and out of this? I would rather add to this trade in the 30s than think about the trade at all down here. Yeah, you didn't ask for TIA. In my head, I've like filed everything as what does the chart look like? So when I see a chart that looks like other charts, I just pull it up. Catcoin, Julian, my brother in the trenches. Julian, what are you doing? Here's the thing, if your coin has a 30 character ticker, maybe that's not the one. Maybe she's not the one. This to me looks like Doge on the weekly. What evidence do you have that this is bullish? Similar to this other stuff, maybe eventually a triple bottom, but it's not there yet. Doge, I have it somewhere. Doge on the weekly. So Catcoin is like back here for Doge, or where Doge was. Yeah, somebody needs to pull Julian out of the trenches because, man. All right, I think that's all for crypto. Well, I guess he's getting destroyed. Let's run through the crypto adjacent stuff. What do I want to start with? MSTR? MSTR. Still looks fine, honestly. Like, it's not pretty, but it's at the daily Kijun. It's still above the daily cloud. Similar to Sol, like the Sol chart looks pretty close to MSCR. Tried to break out. So far, it has failed, but it's still leaning bullish to me. But it still looks fine. Do not panic. No, it still looks bullish. As long as it holds the cloud and this support, I still like it. Coinbase looks less bullish. it broke back into the cloud. Just an ugly reversal. 25% from the high. Man, that is nasty. That is nasty. So these charts, MSTR, coin, what is the other one? I'm trying to think in my head. CleanSpark. CleanSpark's another one. It's like right there. These charts would all be bullish continuation if they broke out. Whereas some of these alts would be filed under like the Pfizer chart, which is a bullish reversal after years of garbage, right? So that's, if you're bullish right now, these are the type of charts you're looking for, is something that looks like this, something that looks like TLT. I know no one wants to trade this or cares about this, but this chart looks phenomenal. Phenomenal. If you want leverage, you got TMF. That's a 3x leveraged 20-year treasury ETF. You've got TYD, which is a leveraged 10-year. These on the cloud look like they're the best charts right now. They're just the best charts because you're in this transition phase between being turbo bearish for literally 4 years and finally having some strength. So I would rather personally allocate into this stuff than any of the Mag 7, Tesla, Nvidia, any of that crap. These charts just look like they have more room for upside relative to Mag 7, regardless of fundamentals, regardless. But that's why I like the Pfizer chart. Somebody asked me about the exit. If you got in, I don't know, sub 30, back to the Fibs example, you could say this consolidation measures to 30, 33 to 36. That's where I'm going to set my closes. That would be totally fine. Another thing you can do with these massive downtrends, just like we did on BTC, is look for the 50% level, look for the 618. If you guys remember this from BTC on the way up, this would be the next level, like 40 to 44 on Pfizer. So all this is always the same. The company doesn't matter. The industry doesn't matter. That's what technicals are all about. If your system is solid and you know what you're doing and it works, it should always be the same. And it's no surprise that, hey, look, there's a flat cloud level here. Where's it at? Right here. This hasn't even started the edge to edge to 40 yet. But this chart looks like BTC did, right? If we dial this back, where is the replay? If we go like back here, right? Like this is just vanilla edge to edge stuff. It's not even anything special. No alt looks like this right now, I can tell you that. But that's where I'm at with Pfizer. So Pfizer still looks great. It's Pfizer, I get it, but man, that chart looks so good. They've even been hit with lawsuits, all sorts of fundamental reasons why this chart should not look good. And one day, one of these lawsuits is going to be the one, but chart still looks great. So Pfizer looks good, TLT looks good. What else? I still like CleanSpark. I still like Coin and MSTR. Square is one that just needs time. Doesn't look like an entry here. I think you just give it time. PayPal is another one that looks like it's almost ready. It's almost ready. Almost ready. Because again, it's been beaten down for years. It's consolidated, tried to, and I think it looks pretty good. Hood Hood for the cycle is probably fine. My entry's like sub 10, I think. I sold half of it a couple weeks ago, the position, to just let it ride. It was up over 100%. Here, it's getting back into the daily cloud. I don't think this is an entry. Just like Nvidia, you know, everybody was like beating themselves up that they didn't buy the Nvidia bottom. On what planet does this chart look like it's a buy? On what planet? My favorite is all these tweets about the market cap went up and down $300 billion. So I don't like Nvidia here. I like Nvidia down here. I like Nvidia at like sub 100. The cloud doesn't like it down there, but that's the gap. That's the horizontal support. Resistance potentially turn support. But look at this candle. Down 11% from wick to wick. That's today, down 11%. Wild. Yeah, if you guys want me to look at anything on Legacy Land, let me know. Dying to know the liquidity pool for that cat coin. It's I was gonna make a kitty litter joke, but yeah. All right. Let's go through Mag 7. So Nvidia, I wouldn't touch this until sub 100 personally, and even then the cloud is not on your side. The best entries for Nvidia since 2022 have all been daily cloud 1852, 104, 26 entries. So at 100, that is not the case. That is not the case. Momentum is not on your side. Trend is not on your side. So I'd be careful down there. SMCI is another one I liked. I longed. I got stopped out. That's such is life. It looks like hot garbo here. It is, look at this. It is free floating. It's like that giant hole in the ocean where it's like they don't know the bottom. It's so deep. Like that's the issue with SMCI here. There is no support from here until 300. Just nothing. I guess 480. So semis as a group don't look good. SMH also does not look good. Once you look at technicals and understand what you're doing a little bit, and you have a trade under your belt or two, and you're like, you know what, I sold SMH at X level because of X reason, then you start to build confidence, right? It's easy to come into something like this, a stream or whoever, a video, and you're like, yeah, I know, they're saying up or down, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually play the game and you use the fibs, you measure the patterns, then I think that's when it starts to really click. Like, okay, there was this huge pattern on this. It reached the target. Great. What's the next trade? Because I'm already out of this. It is what it is. The cloud is not on your side. I don't care if this bounces 20%. It doesn't matter. Like, the best entries are pretty clear with the cloud on semis. Apple, up here, Apple looks like a head and shoulders to me. So not for me up here. Microsoft, again, the cloud tells you all you need to know. There's just nothing. What is the entry here, right? We could go to the weekly and we could say 390. The other issue is all of this stuff has just been up only for a year and a half. And it just needs time, you know? Amazon. It looks okay. Just ranging. I don't see anything. Nothing here's screaming a buy. What you're always on the hunt for is the Pfizer chart, the TLT chart, the helium chart in like 2023 or whatever. Stuff like that, at least for me. as a trend person. This is like, you know, you're months late, right? You're months late. Just look for something else. Meta, same story. It's just not for me. I just think your money is better elsewhere. Google, same story. Not for me. Netflix, same story, not for me. There's a channel here, there's a range here, but what are you doing? You missed it, right? There's just elsewhere to be. Tesla, I talked about a couple weeks ago. I screwed this one up by trading options instead of common, but the move played out, the fibs played out, the levels played out. That's it. That's the trade. The tough thing for people is to say, like, either they missed it or they missed their exit, they missed their entry. It's not to like look for the next trade on this chart. It's just not the time. This could bounce at the Kijun, but the move that you wanted is over. It's been over for a couple weeks now. So it's just like next chart, you know, next trade. It's over. That's why I was talking about Tesla in May, like over and over and over again. I was talking about Tesla. There's just nothing to do here. On the daily, on the weekly, there's just nothing to do. It just looks like chop. KWeb I talked about. Intel, a nasty reversal on Intel. A nasty reversal. Ray's in the chat. He warned me. He said it's Intel. I knew better. This is obviously not something that panned out as expected if you're long this chart, but that's a yikes for sure. Uber I talked about getting stopped out at like 68. That was last week. This chart, you know, something I also think people don't do enough is if they're getting stopped out, definitely keep going to next trade, but revisit that chart. Keep revisiting it every once in a while just to see, again, to build confidence for you using a stop loss. Like if there's anything that tells me use a freaking stop loss, it's a chart that looks like this, right? Because I was saying, hey, this is a inverted head and shoulders. It broke out, it was above the cloud, and then boom, below the cloud, it's over, it's done, you're out, boom. That's your stop loss. It's always the same. It's always the same. So you're saving yourself, what is this? 10% on the downside. Anyway. Yeah, Baba, I think Baba's the highest holding in KWeb, if I'm might be correct on that. So the charts are probably similar. Yeah, it's basically the same chart. But like PayPal, this is something that it's getting close. It's not like add here. For me, it's like maybe nibble a little bit on a small position, but it's getting close. It's based on the trend. Not there yet, but it's getting close. Costco. So the trade I took was on the breakout, right? This is just Cloud 101 stuff. I got out of that early, probably like 8:20 or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was up here. At this point, the cloud is telling you to stay away for now because you're going to get a bearish TK cross pretty soon here. The chart doesn't look pretty. The weekly support, 720. If you want to talk fundamentals, all of these companies are mega overvalued. That's what the bears are going to keep telling you, like, this valuation doesn't make sense. PE P whatever, P XYZ whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff, to be honest, but the technicals are not. Technicals are not on your side. JMIA. Let's take a look. Doesn't look awful. Looks like, doesn't look like an entry here. It's kind of like Pfizer phase shifted to the right? Like in my head, this is what you'd want something like Pfizer to look like. I think you have to be careful of a rising wedge up here on the daily. Definitely be careful of that. I don't know, kind of feels like the move is done. If we look at the fibs, so we're way past the fib of this move here. It kind of looks like the move is done for now. Another one I was watching is Schwab. Schwab had this, hold on, I have it somewhere. Is it up here? Where are you? Schwab. Anyway, Schwab had a rising wedge, like a multi-month rising wedge that got it very angry and broke down. HSY, that is, oh, Hershey. I thought it was some yield thing. Okay. This looks like comp a little bit. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. You probably know what I'm going to say. It's ready to get into the cloud. This is a 50% retracement. It has been ranging for almost a year. I mean, does it look amazing? No. This could be a massive like diamond bottom thing. I don't know. Whatever. It's clearly trying to bottom. The daily doesn't hate it. I think I would probably wait for the cloud to flip bullish. It looks okay. It looks okay. I'll add it to my watch list just because it's one of the few that also looks potentially ready. Let's just do indices real quick. S&P at the daily Kijun. I'm not brave enough to buy the 65th Kijun tap on the daily, but I guess you could. I just think we need a full reset like we had in 2023, like we had in mid 2024. That is always going to be like here and here. You're looking for that into Q4. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time. The Qs, same thing. There's nothing here to buy for me. Sorry. Does not look good. Does not look good. The weekly's at 423 as far as the support, and it just needs time. One of my fears for the Qs here is that if this morphs into a head and shoulders and we go to like 350, that's going to pull Bitcoin with it. So we got to dodge that, but not a buy here. And I think this all lines up and makes sense. If equities look like garbage, bonds probably look decent. I think that makes sense to me. IWM, huge reversal. I don't know. That's just not for me. DJI, huge reversal. What's DXY doing? DXY ranging. Really not much of anything going on here. just chop. All right, people asking about commods, gold. So gold, like Bitcoin, had a... I don't know why we keep getting these wedges, but man, I hate the wedges. Absolutely hate them, because it's like, okay, where is this going to retest the support? Is it going to retest the resistance? Is there a diagonal here? I do not like the wedges. Just super ambiguous. I don't know. Gold, it looks fine. It looks better than equities, right? Like it's above the cloud, just objectively on trend. It's turbo mega uber chop. Maybe there's a just to go to a clean chart. Maybe you could argue this, which isn't terrible, like this huge inverted head and shoulders. I don't hate that, honestly. It's not bearish, definitely. I mean, it's trying. So if it gets back to 2,500, it probably breaks out. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Yeah, someone was asking, where was this? Sorry, I lost it in the chat. Okay, here we go. Before we go to commodities, sorry. I lost it again. There it is. IBIT. I mean, IBIT is Bitcoin, brother. It's just, it's range. You gotta hope for not this. If we get some sort of triple top, again, that brings us back to the beginning of the launch of the ETF. Which, hey, look, it's not impossible, but it's just something to be mindful of. I just think it's interesting. We had head and shoulders here. We had an inverted here. We had a double top here. We had an inverted head and shoulders here. And now we've got mega uber chop within the chop here. So that's IBIT. Palantir, this is another one that had that wedge thing going on, right? I mean, the chart is fine. It's just kind of uninspiring. It's just up, chop. I don't know. It looks okay. As long as it's in the channel, it looks fine. CrowdStrike. This is like the Stellantis chart, right? Like, is there anything we can pick out here that we could measure? Back to our friendly wedge. You could say, you know, there's a wedge here, I guess, unfortunately. If we measure the wedge, we are in the wheelhouse of where we'd expect this to break down. Am I brave enough to buy it here? I am not brave enough to buy it here. It's, you know, the trend is not on your side, obviously. So I would personally wait for some sort of pattern or divergence. I don't think there's, yeah, it's RSI is still 15 on the daily. So what you'd want to see is a lower low on RSI, or sorry, lower low on price, higher low on RSI, probably to like 25 plus. I think that would be a buy. Even on the 4 hour, the bull div is just starting. So I think it still needs more time. Give it a week or two, but it could be a buy. I just think it needs a couple weeks. It needs a news failure, which would be similar to Pfizer. Like it needs a headline about a class action lawsuit, which it just had. It needs more of that stuff. And then you watch price, and if price does nothing, and you have a pattern on your side, and you have a div, that's the type of thing you're watching for. Has all of the sellers been sucked out of the market? So I don't think we're there yet for CrowdStrike. Galaxy. Galaxy's also doesn't look great. This looks like chop. I mean, this was down here. This breakout was the buy, but you're way past that. Way past that. So it's bullish. All right, Nurk gave me a list. He gives me good lists. Ag, AGG, yeah, this is kind of like TLT. Aggregate bond ETF. You'd have to look at the holdings. I assume the holdings are weighted on the long end based on how this chart looks. Probably 5+ years, but this chart looks great. This chart looks really good. I just want to add it to my list. I'll put it by TLT as a reminder. Yeah, ag looks really good. On the cloud, on the pattern. ABT. Abbott reminds me of Morgan Stanley MS, where it just ranged for a long time. It's like trying, it's almost like Square too. It's trying to do something. It's probably not ready yet, but it's trying. The problem with buying this is like, okay, let's say it chops around for another 3 to 6 months. At what point do you say enough's enough and you just jump out of this thing? That's why I would rather wait until it's back up here. Like 112. I'd rather buy the strength than sit in the chop, personally. Hasbro. Haven't looked at this one in a minute. It looks okay. It's trying to make its way through the weekly. Probably needs more time. I know that they, just because I'm aware of the Magic stuff, Magic the Gathering, they decreased print runs, I think, and I think they're making better revenue profits on their sales, but again, not that I really care about fundamentals, but if I'm trying to think about what could be positive for this company, it doesn't look horrible. Looks okay. IRDM. Yeah, I mean, it's got a double bottom on the high time frames. It kind of looks like TLT. It has that signature multi-year bearishness. There's probably some sort of diagonal here. So I see what you're seeing as far as potential strength. I don't hate nibbling. It's just on a relative value basis, would you rather trade this or TLT or ag, Iridium over TLT favors, well, it might favor Iridium soon. I don't know. No clear answer there. HSY we did. UVIX. 2x long VIX. I would stay as far away from the VIX as possible. Personally, I wouldn't trade the VIX. It's kind of nonsensical how most days it should be up and it's not. So I think that's just very frustrating. even, no, I guess COVID, this must have started after COVID. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you could watch it and trade this on the cloud, but man, it's difficult. You had a fake out here, 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 all the way up here. Maybe if this breaks out, I'll put an alert on it. The thing with the VIX is it's usually inverse BTC, so from a portfolio hedge perspective, maybe you watch it and think about something at 7 or something. I don't know. Looks like it's trying to do something. Gee. I already got an alert on UVIX because it hit today. Whatever. I'll just leave that. Chemed. Just chop. Lots of chop. I assume this is like a biotech or supplier or something. I mean, if you caught that move, good, but it just looks like chop to me. A few more, then we'll get out of here. IDCC. Interdigital. This also looks like a potential rising wedge. So I'd be careful on that. I don't know, it looks okay. Lots of chop. Up chop, but lots of chop. The NERC must have some filter screener that he looks at for all these random tickers. It's above the cloud. Cup and handle. Bullish TK cross on the daily. Looks okay. Looks okay. It's got this thing going on, right? I don't hate it. Looks okay. Is it like solar energy? I don't know what that is, but looks okay. Looks okay. ETR. Another energy. Yeah, looks good. Is this a Kamala Harris hedge? Is that why these are up today? I don't think there's an entry, but it looks okay. Just chop. Lots of chop. IOEN is a crypto. Internet of Energy. That one doesn't have a chart, I don't think. Oh, just kidding. No, that was just chop. I don't see anything there. Not for me anyway. You started off strong, NERC, and then we ended with this. No, it's a good list though. Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, the UVI, like if you look at the VIX, I just think it's so hard to trade and make money. It's like, look at this chop, right? Brutal chop. GAN fan boxes don't work unless you unlock the scale. Good to know. What about a reclaim as support as an entry for CrowdStrike? What support? It even looks bad on the weekly cloud. That's when you know you're in deep shit, when it's below the weekly cloud. Reclaim as support. You mean like 280? I would just wait. I'm telling you, we'll look at it next week, but you'll probably see a falling wedge. That's my guess. Something like this. Into like as more shit hits the fan with this company, you're gonna get people just like selling this off. A few more Rogers Communication. This is Canada, right? It's a lot of chop. That is a lot of chop. If you're a range person, I guess you're saying it's at the bottom of the range, but what does this look like in the monthly? Just looks like nothing. I don't know. Bunch of nothing. Back above 48, it's probably good. What's Verizon? VZ. VZ's got a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders going on. Don't hate it. A mix between like Clean Spark Madness and inverted head and shoulders. I think that's it. HYT, did we look at that one? We did not. BlackRock high yield. Yeah, it looks good. And it's got, what is the yield on this? Let me just look real quick. Oh, 9.5. Oh, okay. So this is the junk bond HYG equivalent, right? Because it looks similar. I don't hate it. Something's in my nose. Yeah, look, there are options for boomer candy type boring stuff right now that look really, really appealing relative to the rest of the market. With everything just melting, you know? So that's kind of where we're at. Sorry, crude and then we're out here. Crude and then we're out here. Yeah, oil. So something else I didn't mention, but I think most people are aware of. The stuff going on in the Middle East with assassinations of high-ranking Hamas, Hezbollah people, escalation. There was some war drums rattling coming out of Iran. Crude really liked that. Crude likes geopolitical strife that affects supply or could affect supply. It's sort of battling the recession stuff though, because if we have a global recession and oil demand falls, there's this, you know, the cross currents it's opposing. If demand is down a lot, but supply is down a lot, price probably goes nowhere, right? So it's not like there's a winning side here for price in either direction. It just looks like chop. Isn't this trying to find the thing? Is it TNX? Where is it at? I thought it was correlated with TNX or something. There's some correlation between, is it the dollar and oil? I don't know. This gives this chart, TNX, this is it, the inverse of TLT basically. This gives me confidence that TLT is going to continue to break up. 10-year yield is below 4%. That's huge. All right, last one. CAD USD for Johnny, the newly minted atmosphere aficionado. Let's go. CAD USD. Doesn't look bullish. Doesn't look bullish. You know, it's got this like, I don't know, inverse something. It looks like it wants 70. It looks like it's a good time to take a vacation in Canada. That's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look bullish. Not here. What does the monthly look like? Wow, it's almost that. So last story, and then we'll get out of here. I'm from Michigan. Back in the day when gas was super expensive, I forget which year, but there was a time when it made more sense to drive over the border on the bridge, pay the toll twice and get gas than it did to buy gas in Michigan, which is absolutely wild. So it cost you time, it cost you gas, and it cost you the toll times 2 And it was still a positive trade to get gas in Canada. Bizarre. Anyway, that's all I got. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. Thanks for everything. We'll be back Sunday. I think I might put out a video tomorrow on miners specifically. All right. Take care. Happy trading. See you next time.